Hey, welcome back to another gear jamming, information driven, opinion fueled edition of Drive Time. This is mostly audio. There'll be some images for you watching, but this is for all you out there commuting to work or um, at work or whatever. You've convinced me with your pleas, your begging, to do more of these drive times. You seem to be enjoying them. It's distracting you from your work. I hope not distracting you too much. Hey, put down that hammer. Okay, this week it's about generally the entertainment industry with some emphasis on things that I might actually know about. Hollywood is burning, uh, literally and figuratively. Um, the movie industry is financially in a spot it's never been in before. I mean, studios have faced bankruptcy, studios have faced monetary challenges, like television, video games, the government making them sell all of their movie theater chains, um, Washington putting unfair taxes on ticket sales in the 50s, all kinds of things. But Hollywood has weathered it. I mean, the talkies, color, 3D, they've been through it all and they've weathered it and they've come out okay with buckets of money that they can cry into. And, um, but they're in bad shape, worse shape than they've ever been. It's not just a slow year, it's been a slow decade in which they've doubled down on really stupid projects that weren't going anywhere. Spent way, way, way too much money on movies that really weren't that interesting to audiences. And even the hits they've had, they spent so much money on the hits that they barely scraped any money off of ticket sales. The box office did not help them. A lot of these big blockbuster movies barely broke even. Now every movie makes money eventually because of streaming and foreign licensing and merchandising and all the rest of it. But for a lot of these movies, it's going to be a long time before they're actually can be seen as profitable. Um, and one of these studios that's is hurting real bad is Warner Brothers. Now, there's a little bit of Schadenfreude here. I've had my issues with Warner Brothers myself, but they're deep in debt. All of these studios, Warner's, Paramount, Columbia, especially Disney, they are in deep doo-doo. They are tens of billions of dollars in debt. Tens of billions of dollars in debt. Uh, um, it would take 20 blockbuster summers. It would take 20 Jaws releases, 20 Star Wars releases, 20 Avatars to even come close to digging their way out of this debt they're in. And Disney in particular is being kept alive by Saudi oil money. I mean, it's weird. And some hedge fund managers, and I'm sure the other studios are relying on them as well. The only healthy production company out there seems to be MGM, which is funded by Amazon. Amazon doesn't care. They don't care if their entertainment end. If Amazon Prime and MGM lose them a couple of $1 billion a year, they can make that up, selling you cat toys. So it doesn't matter. Now, but at Warner's, they got this guy Zaslav, and they brought him in from the Discovery Channel. And Warner's is always doing these weird merger sales. Who bought who? Are we merging? Is it a sale? What is it? Anyway, Zaslav comes in from the Discovery Channel and starts ripping this company apart with a chainsaw. And I know he's seen as a big villain in Hollywood, but I see him as he's trying to save this company. He's trying to save the jobs of an awful lot of blue-collar union workers who rely on Warner Brothers for employment. And he's going through it, and every decision I've seen him make is pretty damn smart. He's not a dumb guy. And he's just, cutting their losses. But some things don't work out. I mean, one of the very first things he said when he showed up was, why aren't we making more gangster movies? Make a gangster movie with Robert De Niro. Well, they did, and it got released, and nobody went to see it. I think we can blame Robert De Niro for that. He's not the Robert De Niro we all knew and loved, or I should say we all didn't know and love. Now that we know more about Robert De Niro and what a mouth-breathing moron he is, we always suspected he was, but now he's talked a lot and confirmed our opinions. And he's just not popular anymore, unfortunately. Great actor. What a great actor. I love so many of his movies. But, so anyway, that didn't work. A bunch of other stuff didn't work. But, I mean, Zaslav's a smart guy. He's a smart business guy. He's reduced a lot of the company's debt. He wrote about $9 billion off the books. They wrote down that Batgirl movie, which was going to do nothing but cost them more money to market, and no one was going to go see it. And he wrote down the recent Wile E. Coyote movie. But for some reason, they went ahead with this new Looney Tunes movie. And Porky and Daffy movie, the Day the Earth Blew Up, I think it's called. Now, I'm not real clear, and I didn't do any research, but it's released by Ketchup Productions, which apparently is not really a part of Warner's. That Ketchup Productions licensed the characters to make this movie, and there are rumors afoot that they are going to actually buy the Coyote movie, the Wile E. Coyote movie, and release that as well. I don't know, I don't know how that works. Are they going to assume the debt that Warner's put into it? Whatever. But the thing is, there's rumors that Warner's is going to sell the Looney Tunes characters, just sell them off, possibly to Ketchup, possibly to some other big firm, and that's a sign, because we keep hearing they're going to sell stuff off. We keep hearing they're going to sell CNN. They already sold CW. They're going to sell a bunch of other assets off, but it might be the only choice they have. If they can get, another $1 billion out of the Looney Tunes franchise and give it to someone else who will exploit it more, exploit it in a smarter way, maybe they should, because and the Porky and Daffy movie, I have to assume, underperformed. It didn't make that much money. It made very little money here. It probably, in comparison to its production budget, whatever that might have been, and it made even less overseas, because the Looney Tunes characters, they don't have that much impact on international audiences. They're, Bugs and Daffy and all the rest, as much as we love them, I assume you love them, I love them, they're not that popular overseas. And the problem with these characters is, as much as we love them, they may have aged out. The audience for them may have aged out. They may be irrelevant. But they don't have to be, do they? I don't know how old you are listening to this, but my first introduction to Looney Tunes characters was at the movies. They would run the cartoons before movies, and we had a weekday kiddie show on every day, and they showed Looney Tunes and Three Stooges. So, got your violence quotient for the day. Feed into your young mind. People, beating each other with boards and blowing each other up with dynamite. And the thing is that Bugs and Daffy and Porky and all the rest were largely irrelevant to me as a child. I mean, technically they were irrelevant. These cartoons were mostly from the 1940s that I was seeing. And there were all kinds of references in these movies that I thought were funny. They were funny in the context of the cartoon, but I had no idea where they came from. there's lots and lots of World War II era references in Looney Tunes cartoons. You know, phrases like "you'll be sorry" and "is this trip necessary?" And these are all things that were really funny to audiences in the 40s because they were hearing these phrases all the time. And then there's all these characters in Looney Tunes that are based on what were then popular radio characters at the time. And there's a lot of phrasing from radio shows. And as kids, these references, we didn't get them. But in the context of the cartoon, they were funny. You know, the phrase, you know, "I've been sick." I mean, we said that all the time when we were kids. So "you'll be sorry," like I referenced before, we said that all the time. No idea, you know, where does this come from? Now, occasionally you'd be watching the cartoons and your mom or your grandmother would be in the room with you, and then they might explain, they might school you on, you know, why, why Sylvester just said that. You know, what did that mean? You know, or Tweety Pie says something and it's like, well, they said that because, you know, that was an old radio show, or that was an old political slogan, or something like that. And so, you know, even the image I showed earlier of the gremlin in Hair Force saying could be, it was a line from a character on a radio show called The Great Gildersleeve. He was the local pharmacist, and on the radio show that line got a laugh every week, mostly because of the timing and delivering of the actor doing it. And so audiences at the time, you know, they crack up the same way, because not only is it's funny in context, but they're laughing at, they know the source material. And us as kids, like I said, no idea. We're dopey. We're dumb. We don't know. We don't understand it. But culturally, it wasn't irrelevant because we were absorbing this strange material from another decade and adopting it as our own. I can't tell you how many times in elementary school I heard, you know, little girls in my classroom say, "Really, I don't." No idea they're doing a Katharine Hepburn impersonation, but it was from the cartoons. You heard that line all the time in Warner Brothers cartoons. And, you know, these were all topical references. And I'm sure the guys making these cartoons, Bob Clampett, Tex Avery, they thought, you know, the hell with it. We're just going to make topical references, and nobody's ever going to watch these cartoons again after the initial release. They didn't think there was a future for this stuff, and yet there is. But is there a future for the Warner Brothers characters? I think there is. I think in the hands of the right licensor, the right filmmakers. My youngest son saw the Porky Daffy movie, and he's a fan of the stuff. I raised our kids on these cartoons, and he said he liked it a lot. You know, he enjoyed it. It was very much in the flavor of the 40s cartoons. So, I mean, there is a future for these done properly, or done in the right venue, you know, whatever. Because what makes the Looney Tunes characters special, unlike, you know, Mickey and Donald, is these characters are cynical and snide and sarcastic. They're you know, possibly borderline psychotic. Certainly Daffy's out of his frickin' mind. So I think the only crazier character in cartoons than Daffy would be Woody Woodpecker. But and there's something subversive about these characters that you don't see in a lot of children's entertainment today. And when we were kids, we understood it was subversive. These characters are anti-authoritarian. They are agents of chaos. And we loved it when we were kids. When I would go to the Saturday matinee, and sometimes they would have a 3-hour program of cartoons. 3 hours of Looney Tunes, nothing but Looney. After the newsreel, do I have to explain newsreels to you? Yeah, everybody listening to me is old enough. They know what a newsreel is. After the newsreel, 3 hours of cartoons. Warner Brothers. And for some reason, it was always packed for the 3 hours of cartoons. For some reason, we screamed between each cartoon. As That's All Folks came on the screen, we just started screaming. Ah! Ah! until the next cartoon came on. Didn't stop until we saw the Merry Melodies or Looney Tunes logo again and heard the music start up. What's the music? I think it's called the Day the Carousel Broke Down. Is that the somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the signature Looney Tunes music. So so I think kids would like. Kids don't change. I think there would be an audience for this if the proper license are. And I do hope that Warner's sells it off, because they're going to have to start auctioning this stuff off in order to survive. And as much of a problem I've had with Warner's in the past myself, I do hope they survive. I like the Warner's tradition. I like knowing there's a Warner Brothers out there. Now, when we get to the comics, Warner owns DC Comics. If this Superman movie fails, and they are banking everything on this Superman movie, everything, they're saying that if this Superman movie doesn't succeed, they're going to have to sell the whole damn studio or break it up for parts. And there won't be any Warner Brothers. Maybe somebody will buy the Warner Brothers name. Maybe Amazon will buy it. But it's over. They have made it quite public, that this Superman movie has got to perform big. And I don't think it's going to do it, personally. From what I've seen and from what I've read the movie is about, I don't think this is the Superman movie we've all been waiting for. I honestly don't. And they put a bucket load of money into it, and they're going to put even more into marketing it. They're probably going to spend as much marketing this movie as they did making it. And I don't think it's going to perform. And I think they're going to have to start thinking about breaking stuff up. And if they're going to sell the Looney Tunes franchise, then they got to be thinking they're going to sell DC Comics as well if Superman doesn't perform. And I've said it for a long time that they're eventually going to have to either sell DC Comics or license the properties out to another publisher, to just shut down the publishing wing of DC Comics and turn it into a licensing house like all of their other franchises that they own. So DC Comics is going to go on the pile of things you can license, like Dirty Harry or the Looney Tunes characters or the Hanna-Barbera characters, and outside publishers, outside licensors, possibly outside filmmakers will be able to come in and say, look, I'll pay you X amount, because this can't go on. This level of debt and all the rest of it can't go on. So I think if they sell the Looney Tunes franchise, I think we can look forward to the DC Comics franchise going up on the block soon, along with so many other things that Warner's is going to have to divest themselves of in order to stay afloat. So there you have it. There's my cynical view. And I don't think it's really cynical, because I think a sale of DC Comics and a sale of the Looney Tunes franchise, I think it would actually be a good thing for you and me, the fans of this material, and for the material itself, and ultimately probably for creators. I've already been told by someone that if DC was going to license Batman, they could put together $5 million to have me write more Batman. And this is someone they're not just talking, that could happen. Because there's an awful lot of money to be made from these characters that, quite frankly, DC and Warner simply aren't making. Not to say they're not making anything, because these licenses are still worth a whole lot of money in merchandising. But they're not exploiting the publishing end at all. At all. So let's hope that a change is coming. I really hope so, because it would be good for everybody, except the executives at DC Comics. which I'm not going to waste any time crying over them. So there you have it. There's another drive time. I hope I got you to work safely. I hope you didn't lose any fingers or toes while listening to me at work. And I'll see all of you down the road.